Hello everyone, welcome back to the Solent Local Enterprise Partnership and Careers and Enterprise Company Interview and Employer Project. Today we have Mark, Ken, Emily and Louise from the University of Portsmouth, being interviewed by Aaron from Crookhorn College, Ella from Crookhorn College, Theodora from Portsmouth College, Brooke, Nikki and Una from Weldon Schools.
What does your organisation do?
Our university basically delivers courses at degree levels that cover many different areas, from humanities and the arts to health sciences. So we cover a wide range of courses, but as I say, I am specifically in the School of Civil Engineering and Surveying.
I'd say there are two functions that university has. One is teaching.
Yeah.
So the academics and the lecturers will share their knowledge, their ideas, their experience with students, and they can be students at any age over the age of 18.
Okay.
And they also carry out research, which I find fascinating. So there are people at universities that know the answers to questions that Google doesn't know the answers to, which they do research in brand new areas and they run experiments, and that's important because then we can use those answers in real life.
What was your dream job when you were 16 years old? So when I was 16, I think probably my dream job, what I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life doing, was probably being a PE teacher. Really enjoyed PE at school. I was really keen to be in all the sports teams and that sort of thing. And for me at that time, I was like, there can be no better career than wearing a tracksuit every single day and teaching students how to play netball. And that was what really my goal was at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I've always wanted to work on fossil animals. So a bit like Aaron, I find extinct animals really interesting, extinct life really interesting. And I've always had that interest. So ever since I was a very small person, basically as long as I can remember, I've always wanted to work on extinct animals. So the name of that discipline, the name of that industry is paleontology. And so I guess when I was 16, that's the career I wanted to go into. I wanted to be a paleontologist.
I wanted to be a marine biologist. That was the two things that really fascinated me. I knew nothing about being a marine biologist. I just knew that I wanted to learn more about the sea.
Describe your career journey so far.
I started off by studying civil engineering at university. After that, I got jobs within the construction industry, working as a civil engineer and project manager. After which an opportunity came up to teach at the university, and I decided to make that switch.
I graduated from university of my undergraduate 3 years ago, and then I did a master's degree, and then I did something called a sabbatical officer position at university. So you might have a student president at school. It's a little bit like that, but it's a paid full-time position. So I was responsible for sport, called the Vice President of Sport at my university. And that actually opened so many doors for me. It meant I was responsible for all 64 of our sports teams. I was responsible for, representing sport on a university level. And then from there, the experiences I had enabled me to get me the job that I have now, working for the University of Portsmouth.
When I was at sixth form and at university, I had part-time jobs in shops, probably like most people. I really liked interacting with people. My first real job I got at the university, so at the University of Portsmouth, and it was to help organise summer schools for young people that maybe hadn't had a chance to experience university or maybe didn't know what they wanted to do, and that sort of work was really new back then. So I did that job, really enjoyed it, and then I moved into an academic department, so a teaching department within the university.
I did my degree and then a postgraduate qualification, my PhD. I did them both at the University of Portsmouth. I then found that there were opportunities here at the university where I could continue doing paleontology and continue doing teaching. Probably the most bizarre job I've ever had, I was employed to build giant models of flying reptiles. So these are like giraffe-sized flying reptile models we put on display in London. back in 2010. And that's when I noticed there were opportunities at the university to start helping students and to support students. So that's how I've ended up doing that part-time.
What skills and qualifications would someone need to work in your team?
My university role has a lot of teaching, it has a lot of working with students, I do a lot of supporting students, but to actually have that expertise to do teaching, that does require you to go and maybe get a degree in a relevant topic. So the kind of teaching I do is teaching students anatomy, so I fall back onto my degree, which was in paleontology, where I learned a lot of anatomy to help me interpret fossil bones.
One of the first requirements would be obviously the academic qualification. So normally somebody would have to have a degree from a university. In addition to that, somebody would have to have a professional qualifications. For example, I'm a chartered civil engineer.
I'd say that skills are as important as qualifications. So skill-wise, you need to be really good at communicating, and you need to be a good problem solver. So you need to look at all the evidence you've got and decide kind of, who am I going to ask first? Do I need to contact a funding provider? Do I need to ask the person more questions? And then some of our team will have background in finance and banking. So they might have professional qualifications or qualifications from university to do with finance and banking as well.
How would you describe your typical day at work?
So I'd get to the office maybe for 8:30, maybe answer emails depending on what requests are coming from schools or colleges. Maybe there are things happening at the university that we need to support students on. I might spend part of my day helping students that walk in. Whilst it might be routine, even if that day happened the same every single day, because of the different people I'm speaking to, it never feels like the same day.
I guess a typical day would be in the morning, I do things with the university. So that might be helping students out one way or another. That might be meeting the students face to face. It might be talking to them over emails, something like that. It might involve putting some lectures together. It might involve doing some outreach with the university. I do a lot of that kind of thing as well. Or it might involve course design. So there can be quite a lot of variation just within my university role.
And what are your top tips for a young person making a career decision today?
My top tips would be to not put pressure on yourself. Sort of your life will take the route that it takes, and sometimes different opportunities will present themselves. I genuinely, at your age, if you'd have told me I was going to be anything other than a PE teacher, I think I'd have laughed at you. Like I was so set on that one path, but experiences I was having and different, people I was meeting really changed sort of how I felt about that role and what I felt would be better for me moving forward. So I would say be open-minded. It's really helpful to get an idea of what sort of remit or area or sector that you want to work in. If you want to be a chef, then it's probably a good idea to keep an idea of all the sorts of professions in that industry, rather than decide one day you're going to be a chef and another day you're going to be an accountant. But do be prepared to be sort of flexible. And I think my other thing would be always say yes. Be a yes person. When I was your age, we had a careers advisor at school, and she said, when you go to university, make sure you say yes to every single opportunity. Don't be a no person. And at the time I was like, yeah, of course, Miss Davey, yeah, whatever. But actually, some of the things I've said yes to are really, as I say, running VP Sport, I wouldn't be here. And that was an opportunity that presented itself. I said yes, put myself out there a little bit, and it's paid dividends now as I'm in sort of my dream job. So say yes, and don't pigeonhole yourself at your age, sort of thing.
I feel there's a lot of pressure to kind of decide what you want to do quite early on, particularly if you're thinking about university and things, and you sort of have to almost know what your career trajectory is. And I think it's great if you have an interest in something. So if you are interested in something like paleontology or anything else, if you're interested in engineering or poetry or anything like that, if you know what it is that you want to do, I think that's really terrific. Go in that direction. But if you don't know what you want to do, then isn't necessarily a bad thing either. I think that they both have their own merits. Having confidence and knowing that your ideas are worth something is really quite important. So yeah, I think they're my two main bits of advice really, is to, if you've got a direction, absolutely go for it. At the same time, if you don't have a direction, it's not the end of the world. You can be adaptive, you can find your way as you go. And the other thing is just to have some belief that you can actually do the things that you want to do.
The first thing I would say would be to try and identify your interests, because that's really important. You want to be spending time doing something that interests you. Then once you've done that, then I think it's just trying to find out which careers would give you the opportunity to develop those interests. And as long as you stay focused on your interests and you put in some effort to develop yourself with the skills that are relevant to that, I think you should do well.
So the first thing I think is, and you probably guessed, think about what makes you happy. What would you want your purpose to be? What would motivate you when doing a job? If it's going to be helping people, then focus on careers that are going to allow you to help people, rather than fixating on a job title or a sector. Think about kind of what is going to motivate you to be happy and want to really push yourself, because if you're happy to push yourself and put extra effort in, quite often you're more likely to succeed in that area. You can change your career kind of any time in your life, so keep asking questions. You'll find kind of new things that maybe you hadn't thought you could do.
So I've learned a lot of things from you. Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate your answers and your advice today. That's really, really good. And thank you so much for asking the questions as well.